Hello, and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm, brought to you by funkingstuff.net. This is an interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I'm your host, Scott Dr. Scott Goldfine, musicologist and author of Everything is on the One, The First Guide to Funk. If you don't have your copy, get on over to Amazon and pick one up. You'll be glad you did. Whether you're watching or listening to our audio podcast version, I thank you as always for your continued interest and support. This episode features drummer, guitarist, composer, producer, Jellybean Johnson, best known as one of the original members of the Prince protege funk group and eventual superband, The Time. Jellybean, along with Morris Day, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Jesse Johnson, and Monty Moir, who was previously on another episode of Truth and Rhythm, were the killer lineup associated with two spectacular funk rock albums of the early 1980s, their self-titled debut, and also What Time Is It? And then they had 1990s comeback set Pandemonium and 2011's Condensate under the non-Prince restricted name The Original Seven. The guys were blocked from using the Time name for what was otherwise a wonderful album that I rate as one of the best funk discs of this decade. In 1984, when Prince dismissed Jam and Lewis from the original Time lineup with Moir following, Jellybean stayed on along with Day and Jesse Johnson for the Ice Cream Castles album and an appearance in the Purple Rain motion picture. During 1990's reunited phase, the Time's original members also appeared in the Graffiti Bridge film and placed tracks on that soundtrack. Among the Time's classic tracks are Get It Up, Cool, Wild and Loose, 7779311, The Walk, Gigolos Get Lonely Too, Jerk Out, Ice Cream Castles, Jungle Love, The Bird, Release It, My Drawers, Shake, and Tricky. While Prince was responsible for most of the music on the Time's first two records, the band proved to be sheer dynamite on stage with an engaging, energetic, and entertaining style as a supremely funky act in its own right. Through the years, the depth of talent among group members made itself known as each member went on to their own success. Jellybean went on to become a member of another Prince protege act known as The Family, which was even shorter lived than The Time. The group released just one album, 1985's terrific self-titled record that featured High Fashion, Mutiny, and the hit Screams of Passion. Notably, the record also included the original version of Nothing Compares to You that would become a #1 pop smash for Sinead O'Connor just a few years later. During those same years, Jellybean became a key contributor to Jam and Lewis's Flight Time production team, working on hits for Alexandra O'Neal, Cherelle, Nona Hendrix, New Edition, Janet Jackson, and others. For more than the past 20 years, Jellybean has performed with the touring lineup of Morris Day and The Time that also includes fellow original member Moir. In addition, besides playing on the original Seven's Condensate album in 2011, Jellybean regrouped with The Family that same year under the name F Deluxe with the strong Gaslight album. 26 years after the debut, they finally followed up. Yep, Prince once again did not allow them to use the original name either. Since then, F Deluxe has continued to record and tour. More recently, Jellybean has formed the Jellybean Johnson Experience to unleash a big surprise to many. He absolutely shreds on the guitar, and the band focuses on funk, rock, and blues. The JJE has performed several shows, and a debut album is in the works. I caught up with Jellybean, his Minneapolis home, to find out how he got his start in music and get all the juicy details on the inner workings of Prince, The Time and all its members, The Family, and F Deluxe, and how he is still going strong and the new projects he is currently pursuing. He pulls no punches in telling it like it was and how it is. Trust me, the quality of the content trivializes any shortcomings in the audio. So here is my conversation with one of the most important funk and R&B musicians of the past 70 years, Mr. Gary George Johnson, better known as Jellybean. Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. I am so pleased to be bringing you today drummer, guitarist, composer, producer, Jellybean Johnson, best known as an original member of the baddest, slickest, funkiest band to ever come forth from Minneapolis, or most any place for that matter. Jellybean, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. You're too kind. You're too kind.
Hey, it's the truth. You know, it's not bragging if it's the truth.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay funky in my old age,
Well, you're looking good, my man. I think you're taking good care of yourself.
I try, man. I try to work out every day and, do a lot of cardio and stuff. It helps. I lead a rock and roll life. It's crazy. So I better do something. A lot of us is leaving here, so I want to stay a little while longer.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. Well, we're very glad that you are,
Yeah.
because you've done so much great music through the years. And
Thank you.
just from the top of the show here, I just want to thank you personally and on behalf of all the viewers. Thank you for what you've given us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Try to keep it up. Yeah.
Great. So now you're coming to us from Minneapolis today?
Yeah, I'm in the suburb of Minneapolis in Brooklyn Park. I've actually lived in Brooklyn Park for over 40 years, and so you know, I like to call myself a Brooklyn Parkite, but it's cool. I just like this particular suburb and stuff. Some of my friends that lived in the southern suburbs say, "Oh, why don't you move out of Brooklyn Park? It's ghetto suburbs." Well, that's part of the attraction for me. It's suburban, but it's urban. And I'm an urban type guy. I like riding my bike through the streets and all that kind of stuff. So it's a cool place for me.
Well, you're a big guy too. No one's going to mess with you.
Well, some people try me sometimes. It's all right. The police station's right up the street too, so that's okay. I guess that's a hindrance and a convenience. So if there's anything jumps off, it's gonna get handled one way or the other. So.
Well, if you're anything like me, I'm a big guy too. I'm almost 6'3", but
Oh, okay.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I have that look, that's like
Yeah, you had that look to let them know, hey, I wish you would. Huh?
exactly. So usually I don't have to have trouble, but
Yeah, exactly. See, if you got that right look, Scott, they know not to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I learned. So talking about growing up, Jellybean, if you could tell us about your childhood and how you first got into music.
Okay. My mom moved me here when I was 13 from Chicago to keep me out of the gangs. The gangs were starting to recruit me at very young age, 12, 13. And my mom wasn't having it, because she was seeing the culture of the gangs, and you end up either getting killed or be killed, or killing somebody. And she just didn't want that kind of life for her kids. So she moved me here in 1968. And it was a culture shock for me at first coming from Chicago because, I lived in like a predominantly black neighborhood in Chicago on the west side. And we moved here. We moved on the north side, which is black here. But, in Chicago, you had like the radio station stayed on, the black radio stations were on all night. Here, they were on about 3 or 4 hours tops. They were done in the afternoon. They come on like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and by maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, there was no black radio. So as a young kid, I was forced to listen to white radio. And that's when it changed me musically, because in Chicago, it was all about James Brown and Tyrone Davis and all the black, culture icons, Aretha Franklin and all that. And here it was more like Rare Earth and Black Sabbath and Three Dog Night, and stuff like that. So it changed me as a young black kid coming up. And then when I got to be about 13, I got into Hendrix a lot. And I really was enamored with the guitar, but I didn't know how to play one. So as luck would have it, my cousin, who was 2 years older than me, had a guitar. And he was staying with us at the time. And then he moved back with his mother, but he left the guitar with me. And so I was teaching myself to play it, and I got kind of good. And then the minute he left it for about a year, and then he came back and saw I could play it, pretty good. He took it. So, yeah. So then my mother bought me a guitar that of my own, so then I can continue on and stuff. So that was the whole thing with the guitar and stuff. By then I was already playing the drums, but the guitar was I was just enamored with it, So I started teaching myself, and I just I'm a self-taught musician, drums and guitar. Actually, my mom got me lessons playing the drums for like 6 months, and then I made her stop because, for one, they were every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. And if you didn't went to school all week, until Friday. Saturday, I don't want to get up and, like I'm going to school and go, some dude trying to teach me how to play rock and roll drums. I didn't want to play rock and roll drums. I wanted to play like James Brown's drummers. So, and he wasn't teaching me that. Now, he might have got to that at some point, but I was impatient. I was like, Mom, you're wasting your money. I don't want to go no more. So after about 6 months, I stopped. So, and that continued to teach my stuff I wanted to learn, So that's how my childhood came. And then, of course, as I got older, I got around 15, 16, I met Prince when I was like 12, 13. And I met Terry Lewis at 15. I met Morris at like 11. Me and Morris used to be, we both left-handed drummers, and we would put our drum sets in his mother's living room, and we would play that like a tandem. We would play side by side while she was at work. And so that's how we both kind of, helped each other get pretty good, because, we were like teaching each other, the stuff we wanted to learn. We put on like a Child Power record, David Garibaldi was our hero. So we figured if we could get close to that, we'd be all right. So it turned out, I've shared this story with David many times and stuff, if you listen to me and Morris play the drums, that's who we sound like. That's who we try to sound like, at least, is him. So.
I bet it sounds like it would have been a beautiful noise with the two of you playing drums at once.
I don't know if his mom thought that, but we were both blessed to have moms that would, to put up with our stuff, man. My mom worked at the post office for 30 years, and she had a rule like, okay, you can play all day and most of the night, but when I get home at 10 o'clock, the drums got to stop. So, I would play up to like 8, 9, and then I would stop and give her, because she come in working for 8 hours. She didn't want to hear all that stuff. Even though she thought I was pretty good, she didn't, she didn't want to hear that, especially when she's trying to rest and go back to work the next day. So
that's where you break out the guitar without the amp.
Yeah, I did. Trust me, I did a lot of that too. A lot of that quiet in my room with the door closed, and just playing to yourself. Electric guitars are not that amplified, but you can still hear them when you're right there playing them. You can hear what you're doing. So that worked out. And then of course when she was gone, then I could crank it. So yeah.
Did you have brothers, sisters?
I had 2 brothers. Unfortunately, one died. He drowned when he was 13. And my other one, he just passed recently and stuff. But it was a cool childhood. They were supportive of what I was doing. They could tell when I was getting good. And I tried to get my brother under me to play the bass with me, but he wasn't interested. He was more interested in stealing cars and doing smoking weed, that kind of stuff. So he went the other way, and I was always inside trying to learn, trying to get better.
I'm surprised you didn't say, hey, if you're going to steal, there's a nice guitar over there. Forget the car.
I could use that. What, Scott? I didn't think about that. He probably would have tried to. He was ruthless.
So, contrary to what a lot of people think, no relation between you and Jesse Johnson, just the same last name. But I think a lot of people thought there was a relationship there.
Yeah. No, we're not. People over the years thought we were automatically brothers, and we were tight when we were in the time, but Jesse's something else. He's something to deal with. But no, we're not brothers. We're not blood brothers. He was the last one to get into the time. He originally grew up in Rock Island, Minnesota, and he came here to join the music scene, and he got caught up with Morris, and Morris introduced him to Prince, and that's how he ended up in the time. He ended up being a guitar player for the time. Yeah. We just both happen to have the last name Johnson, so people always thought, that we were brothers.
All right, Jellybean. So let's step back a bit. You're in your teens. You're playing drums. You're playing some guitar.
Okay.
And so you were jammed with Morris. You had met Prince.
Yeah.
Then you became part of Flight Time, or what was the sequence leading up to the time?
Okay, I was in Flight Time. Flight Time was a local band. Me, Terry Lewis, David Island, Jimmy Anderson, Bob Johnson, Robert Martin, Cynthia Johnson from Funky Town fame. All of us was in the band when we were like 15, 16, 17 years old. It was called Flight Time. And then Morris and Prince were in a rival band called Grand Central. And so we were rivals and stuff. We were still 15, 16. We weren't your normal 15, 16-year-old bands. We were pretty good at a young age. And so anyway, 1978, Prince came out with For You and all that. So then the next year, when he was doing oh, it was Want to Be Your Lover after that. Anyway, 1980, 1981, Morris, who was one of his best friends, went out on the road with him, filming him. And Morris had written a song called Party Up. And Prince wanted the song. So he approached Morris. He said, okay, well, we can do one of two things. I can give you cash for the song, or we can make another band. And Morris chose the band. So, okay, now the only problem with that is Morris is a drummer himself, and he wanted to play drums in the band. So they had this, I don't know if you ever heard about the infamous meeting between them and Alexander O'Neill. They met and stuff. And yeah, and Prince, had a meeting with them, and I wasn't invited because, Morris thought he was going to play drums and Alex was going to be the lead singer. And so anyway, they went to this meeting. It was like a Perkins out here in Minnetonka or something. And, Alex, I guess he really showed his butt and stuff and said he wanted to know how much paper was involved and all this stuff. Well, Prince wasn't having it. It wasn't about that. He wanted, he wanted to have a band and, this is how it's going to be. And then, sure, the paper is going to come later. But right now, we're trying to build this band. So anyway, Prince told Morris, say, you go back, you get Jellybean, and you're going to add him to you, Jimmy and Terry and Monty. And we're going to get this guitar player, and you're going to sing. Well, Morris was like, really? I don't want to sing. I wanted to play drums. He said, no, I'll teach you. And so that's how I ended up in the time. So, we were Flight Time, and then we evolved into the time, doing that.
Well, I was thinking, Morris was probably really glad that he made that deal for the song Party Up.
Yeah, today, yeah.
But at the time, maybe he was having second thoughts because of getting moved out front from the drums.
Yeah. It was a whole total different thing from it. And I watched it evolve, Scott. It was amazing to watch, because he didn't know what to do with Prince. He was like a coach. And he wrote us, man, we rehearsed 8 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. And that's how we got that tight because, he was like a slave driver. It was crazy, but in hindsight, it developed all our musical thing. It made us all become better musicians because he was like that. He was a prodigy himself. So he figured if his dad could ride him like that, he could ride us, and let's see what happens.
So what was your thought when you first got into that group? Were you thinking, wow, this is going to be dope, but, or of course you didn't use the term dope then, but, this is going to be really cool, or were you?
Well, I thought we were good. I didn't know. And then, of course, after Prince, ran us through the ringer like that for like 5 or 6 months, then he took us to Detroit and put us on stage in front of 26,000 people. Now, mind you, Scott, I was just used to playing in a bar, every once in a while it might be packed, it might not. And then all of a sudden you were in front of 26,000 screaming fans, because by this time Get It Up was out and it was a big hit in Detroit. And I'll never forget, I almost froze up, when I counted the song off, because we had this big grandiose beginning, and I was just so nervous, and the people were going nuts. They were going nuts. And that whole 35-minute, we had a little 35, 40-minute set, where we play all 6 songs on our record, basically. And it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And so that's when I thought, hey, we got a chance to be, pretty good. So.
Did you have to, I had Monty Moir on, and he was talking about when he auditioned for Prince to play keyboards at the time. Did you have to audition at all, or was it just sort of a foregone conclusion you were in?
It was just a foregone conclusion. And that was because of Morris. That was because that playing in the living room next to him. It was a foregone conclusion that if he wasn't going to play the drums, I was going to play. So that's how that happened.
Did you ever have interest or designs on playing guitar in that group? Because Jellybean, I didn't even know that you could play guitar until a few years ago when I saw the clips on YouTube, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It was like the world's greatest kept secret. My guitar coming out party was innocent for Alex. And I never forget, I was sitting in the Orange Bowl with Prince, and, everybody had been raving. I guess they had been raving him about the guitar solo because they thought it was Jesse and it was me. And he found out it was me. And so we're sitting in the thing, and I was like, I was almost apologetic. I was like, yeah, man, Yeah, that is me on the, yeah, that's me on Innocent and stuff. He said, Jellybean, I know it was you. It's just me and him in this genre. I know it was you. And that's all he said. And then he got on the stage in front of 55,000 people. Yeah, I went through it with that little dude. But yeah,
Wow.
it was like the world's greatest kept secret until then. And then, I would show up like on Fishnet or something like that, or guitar solo here or something. And You Look Good to Me of Sherelle, and then some other Alex stuff. And then I did the Janet thing. So I did a solo on Janet on the Control record, You Can Be Mine. And she's like chanting my name underneath there, and so that kind of exposed. And then Jesse Johnson cussed me out because I didn't play the solo on Black Cat. Well, I was in producer's mode on Black Cat. It was the heavy metal age, and I wanted to sound like all those heavy metal cats. That's when Tommy Lee and all of them, and Richard said all of them was raving about the Janet song because it sounded like some shit they would do. And I did that on purpose, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were your impressions of Prince in those early days? I mean, obviously he you're talking about him being like a drill sergeant, working you like crazy.
Yeah.
How much did you get to know him as just a guy?
A little bit. He would hang out with us sometimes, but he always let you know he was the boss. That's the thing. And what helped me is I had been around him when he was a kid. I mean, I had played basketball with him on his driveway. We were like, young. So I knew that side of him too. But this whole musical side was something totally different because I was doing what he said, and when I didn't know he was famous or something like that, I probably wouldn't have gave him that kind of respect because I'm like, dude, I'm your equal. And no, I'm not, but I would have probably thought that, years ago when we were rival bands. I'm like, oh, dude, what are you talking about? But then after we saw the success and how genius he was, you'd be a fool not to pay attention to him, And so when he did something, Jimmy Jam would tell you this, Monty would tell you this. He used to get on them. He said, he wanted both hands. He wanted them to have both hands on, both hands had to be working. They had to be singing, and they had to be doing steps at the keyboard. Now think about that, Scott. That they're multitasking. That was the thing about the time. We all had to, every limb on your body was doing something, and it better be doing something good, or you was gonna be hearing about it. Jesse and Terry had to dance and step and sing and play their asses off. I had to keep the beat. I'm the engine. I got to keep it rolling. Morris had to learn how to step and do all the dances. He had Jerome helping him. It was a machine, bro. It really was. And it's one that's carried on to today.
Yeah, I saw that '82 tour at the Long Beach Arena with
Oh yeah.
56.
Yeah.
And talking to Monte about it, I think he said Stevie Wonder was there or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what do you remember that experience? Because what I remember, first time seeing the Time at that show, I'd seen Prince before that, and I was like, wow, these guys are amazing.
Yeah. And the thing I'm gonna tell you, the thing I remember the most about the Long Beach show is Prince came backstage after we got done playing, after the night was over, after he had played. He said, yeah, you guys kicked our ass tonight. And that was music to my ears because he had been such a jerk, man. So I knew it was killing him to admit that. But we did. We put a little bit of extra on his ass in Long Beach because you got to realize a lot of the major markets, especially when we had Vanity 6, he wouldn't let us play. He would let us play for them, and he wouldn't let the Time play. So it'd be him and Vanity 6. And we'd be pissed. Can you imagine? We were in New York. We played Madison Square Garden. He wouldn't let us play. We're backstage. Every celebrity you could think of, Stallone, whoever was huge at that time was there to see Prince and was wondering where the hell we were. And we're backing up Vanity 6. So, and he did that on the East Coast and he did it on the West Coast. You were lucky to see us in Long Beach because I think we went to like the Forum or something like that. We didn't play. It was him and Vanity 6. So we were pissed, but what can you do?
Yeah, so like the Frankenstein's monster that he created.
Yeah, like that's what I chuckled when I heard him say that. I heard that years ago, and me and Monty were mad at that. Well, at least I was. I don't know how Monty felt because I seen him on one European show, and he mentioned everybody in the Time except me and Monty. He said all those guys, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Jesse, and Jerome, all those guys are going to be R&B legends. But he didn't say me and Monty, and which was ironic because me and Monty both been to the top 10 ourselves, but back then, he just didn't show this. He showed me respect in later years, but back then, we're like kind of like the afterthought, Those other guys were, whatever.
How did you feel, Jellybean, about the fact that the first record was, all Prince doing that? I mean, did you feel cool with that, or were you a little disappointed that you weren't actually on there?
You know what, Scott? As a musician, I felt a little slighted, but after a while, after I seen Success and stuff, and he kept promising that we were going to be on the next one, or we were going to be on the one after, wherever. And so I just took his word for it. So and then, like I said, after I was seeing how the crowds were reacting, and how people were reacting to us all around the country, I accepted it. I did. And so, when we got to what time is it, he incorporated Jesse and Jesse and Jimmy Terry, incorporated them in there more. He still hadn't put me and Monty in yet. And then by the time we got to Ice Cream Castles, Monty and them guys were gone. But by then he was letting me play. I played the bird and stuff like that.
I got something to show you here.
Okay. Oh, wow. It looked like you framed it too.
Yeah,
nice.
It's usually right up there on the wall.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a cool ass picture, man, too.
You're the only one. You're the only one.
Everybody
put my name on there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Scott, be cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know where I got this?
Where?
At the video shoot for Jerk Out.
You kidding me? That many years? That was many years later.
Yeah. I was on the. I happened to be on the set for that, okay. And I brought that with me.
Oh wow!
So you got to tilt your picture up there. You're cut off at the eyes.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, I brought it with me to the set of that. That was a fun video shoot too.
Yeah, it was. It was cost $250,000. It should be. It should have been. That was Julian Temple. I think that's who did that. Yeah, he was like a renowned video dude back then. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was in Los Angeles where I live, so.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that first record, I mean, you guys didn't play on it, but man, it was a great record. Get It Up, cool, the stick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Prince, he used to preach to us. He said, that's why the whole thing about us all, every limb movement and stuff, he used to say, it has to be better than the record. You guys have to play it better than the record. You have to play it better than I did. He used to preach that to us. Like, so, okay, well, we go throw it out. We go see what happens. So the crowds let us know that it was sounding kind of right to them. So so I guess we did all right.
You know what I just realized is I showed this to you, but not to the audience.
Oh yeah.
So there we go.
That's classic. That is a classic picture, man.
That's what I was just showing. So and there's the
1981.
To Scott. Yeah. Well, you guys made the decision to sign the back rather than the front.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. That wasn't my choice.
Oh, wow.
You guys must have thought it was funny or something.
Yeah, it was. We got a big kick out of doing that, really, because we always consider ourselves kind of hoodlum gangsters, So, yeah, that fit us. The police after us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a classic.
Some of the time played on this. Did you play anything on this?
I didn't play on that. Terry and Jesse. Terry and Jesse are the only two that played on it. Yeah.
But you guys killed it live, though.
Oh, man, I used to love making them funky, man. We were behind this curtain, and when we first started doing that, Scott, we had disguises because we didn't want nobody to know it was the time, right? So we did that for a few shows, and then Prince got the big pink curtain with the fish net thing, netting on it and everything. So we'd be back there. Sometimes he would be back there playing with us. So it would be really funky then because him and Jesse would be playing the guitar, and then the rest of us, and we would be lighting that shit up. It was nasty. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
The second record.
Oh, yeah.
What time is it? Of course, Wild and Loose, 777-9311, The Walk, Gigolos Get Lonely Too. At least as good as the first one, maybe better.
Yeah. We were, and I'm going to tell you a little story about that too. We were, and Jimmy Jam was just talking about that on his radio podcast recently. We were, as a band, we were salty that we wasn't on the cover. you know, and Prince made the decision to put Morris on the cover, and his reasoning was like, when you go to a store and you look at all record companies, what catches your eye? Yeah, you know, exactly. And so, is it going to catch your eye, all six of you on the front cover, or Morris looking at his watch? He said, I think Morris looking at his watch is going to attract people, and he was right. Even though we was like, and we worked hard and we deserve to be on the cover, and you've been treating us like shit and all that. But in hindsight, I mean, that's an iconic cover with Morris on the cover with the buffet hairdo looking at his watch. That's what people know. What time is it? Yeah. So it was perfect. Yeah. But we just didn't think so. Yeah.
Before we talk about the splintering that happened, I wanted to know what your take was, you know, how you would describe in a nutshell the unique personalities and special talents of all the five other guys in the band.
You know what? It was a blessing to be around them because each guy has his own, you know, skill set that's exceptional and that's, you know, different and that made him survive in this business. And just a blessing to be around guys like that. So, you know, you fed off each other. I'm sure they fed off drum beats and shit for some of their songs from me. I stole licks from Jesse and Morris. I mean, Jesse and Prince, you know, I learned a lot from that. Me and Terry, you know, we're bass and drums, so we're like a tandem. So I was always, you know, we were like attached to the hip. And Monty was always sophisticated. You know, he was always sophisticated, quiet white boy that, you know, would play all this cool shit on the piano or on the synthesizers. And this was even before we joined. So we knew, you know, the type caliber musician he was. So it was just a blessing. It's a blessing to be around them guys, man. You know, and me and Morris helped each other with drums and stuff, you know, because like I said, we was idolizing David Garibaldi. So if I had trouble doing something, he could do it and he would show me, hey, well, Bing, try it like this. Well, then he would be right. I get it right. And I had to, because, you know, if I'm going to be playing these beats in concert, they got to be comfortable. You can't be struggling on stage in front of thousands of people because they're going to know, hey, he's struggling. You know, hey, no, you can't have that. You know? So yeah, it was a blessing.
And was Jesse sort of a little bit mercurial? Was he?
He used to be difficult just for the sake of being difficult. Because you got to realize Jesse didn't grow up with us. All the rest of the guys, we were around each other when we were kids. We weren't around him. He didn't come until we started doing the time. So he had to kind of incorporate himself into it. And, you know, and I give him credit. He tried, but he has different upbringing than us. So, you know, he would be difficult for no reason sometime. And we got past that until the later years, you know, we got past it. Still, after a while, we'd like, dude, you got to go. You know, after a while. But in the early years, you know, he incorporated his ways into being with us. But it was hard, you know. He was, like I said, it was hard to deal with. He's still difficult to deal with today, and he's Hendrix. He's one of the best guitar players walking this earth, and he can be as difficult as hell to deal with. And that's the honest to God truth. If he sees this, he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, he's an incredible talent, but definitely seems a little headstrong and a little different thinking.
Oh yeah. He'd be all that, you know. But then you'll see him on stage, you'd be like, oh my God. Yeah.
So before the incident happened with the SOS band and Jimmy and Terry and all that, what would you say was the most memorable performance that you guys all did together? Was it that Detroit one, or was there something else, or Long Beach? Was there anything that just comes to mind?
Detroit and Long Beach were cool. And I remember in the first year we played somewhere in New York in a club, and that was iconic too, man. It was surreal watching. And this was just a little small club. I don't know what club it was. I can't remember from back in the day. But those three performances I really stand out for me, you know. And I'm probably leaving something out, you know, but those were the ones, you know, where we just felt like we were out. And you know what? And I'll take that back. The performance here at the Met Center, because that was another night where we just lit Prince's ass up real bad here at the Met Center. You know, it was snowstorm outside and thousands of people were in there watching us. And we got done. We literally pimped off the stage because the people were screaming loud, and we was like, "Yeah, we got his ass tonight." And so yeah, those four performances, yeah.
Were you ever kind of relieved that you were behind the drum kit, so you didn't have to do quite as many moves as some of the other guys?
Yeah, Yeah, yeah. I had my own problems back there. So, but then when I see all the steps and all the things we got, and I used to be amazed just watching them do that because once we became this fine-tuned machine, just watching all the sequence, stuff, the steps and the slides across the stage, and all the, Jimmy and Monty doing their thing on the keyboards and interacting with the audience too. I mean, Jimmy was great at interacting with the audience and still doing what the hell he needs to do, So yeah, it was like I was like watching my own show back there, playing the drums, So
So when the Terry and Jimmy got snowed in, they couldn't get back, and Prince let them go. What was
yeah,
your what did you feel personally about that when it went down?
I felt betrayed, and I quit, just like Monty did. I quit for a while, but the only problem with Scott is I was having my first child, my firstborn, and we were in production for Purple Rain, and him and Jesse were hunting for other band members. Morris was pretty subdued about it. He was pretty upset too, so he wasn't participating in that part of it. He was just doing what he had to do. And so I quit, and then, like I said, I have my first child, so I came back, and he took me back in open arms because my whole problem with it, Scott, is that we had spent 2 years building this band up, and for him to just fire those guys and try to blame it on Morris, that's the problem Morris had too. He said, Morris, what would you do? And Morris didn't say nothing. He just walked out the room, and he told Terry and Jimmy they were relieved of their duties. And later he tried to retract in the press that he didn't do it, that Morris did. No, Morris did not fire them guys. He did. Prince did that. So like I said, I felt betrayed and everything. We recruited Paul Peterson, Mark Cartness, who I still say to this day never should have been in the time. He never should have been. And was a genius. Okay, this happened again. Come on. Okay, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. And we recruited Jesse helped recruit Martin Cardenas, and we got Paul Peterson, and Paul was 18 years old.
Wow.
So he was wet behind the ears. I'm sure he would tell you this. He was wet behind the ears, everything, and Jesse rode him like a horse and stuff. But he was a great kid. I mean, he's 18 years old, multi-talented, as you can see all that today. That's why I'm in the band with him today. But so it worked out and stuff. I had my doubts, and we went back in the heavy rehearsal mode because you had to rehearse that version of the band, to get ready for Purple Rain and stuff. So we was into those 8 and 10 hour rehearsal days every day, and we got it going. We got it back. Where so at least when we did the movie and stuff, we were prepared. So I remember being in a ballet. He had us in acting classes, and you had to do ballet dances and all that crazy shit. And you had to be on the set at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So I don't miss that, but we got through it. Yeah.
Would you say at that point, after that incident, it kind of went from being, a fun band experience to being sort of a job to get through that?
Yeah, exactly. At this point, it was a job. It was my job. My friends were gone. I missed them. 3 of my friends that I knew would help make this band be what it was were gone. So it's like a job, and it was a paycheck. Because I still, like I said, I had family, and I had a house I had to pay for and all that stuff. So it was like going to your regular job, just a little bit different.
Did you ever express any disenchantment to Prince?
No, I didn't, because I knew it wouldn't have made any difference, because he was just blowing it off. That's who he was. You got to realize he was getting huge then. He was becoming this huge, star. And that's the one thing I've learned about dealing with my rich friends, and I've really learned it in recent years, just dealing with them, is money changes you. As much as you say it may not, no, I'm not. No, you're not the same person you grew up when we were 18, 19 years old. You're not. Now you this corporate person. You got all these employees working for you. You got all this money. You could buy your daughter around the world and stuff, and that can get to you. It can get to you in a negative way sometimes when it comes to your friends. And I watched that happen to me with a few of my friends. So, but life goes on. So.
Did you ever think that Prince would be that successful? I mean, I don't think anyone could imagine that, but when you first were seeing his talent, how successful did you think he might be?
I knew he had a great chance, Scott, of being very successful, but not to not to my wildest dreams that I think he'd win an Oscar or that he would have a hit movie. And, you know, he used to tell us, I mean, he had dreams about the movie. And, you know, that was when we were, you know, the first tours, the Controversy in 1999 tour. That's his whole thing. He was obsessed with, like, we're going to do a movie about this. He could see this. He could see all this stuff, you know. And I wasn't sure, you know. I was just like, I'm just happy to be in this. And we're big all around the country and everybody adores us. But as far as the movies, that was a whole total different thing. Just being on the big screen and being a snotty-nosed kid from the north side, you know. Oh, I'm going to be on the big screen? Oh, no, that's not going to happen, you know. But he saw that. He saw that we could do that. And so, yeah. So, yeah.
And here, of course, is that record that
Oh, yeah.
Ice
I
Cream
remember being
Castle.
up at the castle. That was an actual castle, man. It was an actual castle that we did the video at, yeah. Up in the Hollywood Hills.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, considering what was going on at the time, I mean, it was better than you really had any right to expect.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, like I said, I didn't, all this was happening around me, but at the same time, you know, I was like, damn, you know, it really would be nice if Prince was nicer, but, you know, look at what's going on, you know. So I guess we can afford to let him be an asshole at this point, you know.
and you actually
more famous. He's making you more famous every day. So, you know, what the hell? You might not have the money to show for it, but at least you're famous, you know. So, hey.
And you're playing on this one?
I'm on the Bird.
Okay.
Because, you know, and I'm gonna tell you a little story about that too. Because me and Morris, you know, our conversations with Prince, we wanted to there's a studio version of the Bird that's funky as hell. But Prince didn't want that. He wanted the version out of First Avenue. So that's why the live version is on there and stuff. And he took it, went and doctored it up, and, you know, did a few overdubs and everything. But he left it pretty much how it was that night we played it at First Avenue. And then he put the performance from Jungle Love, he put that in the actual movie of us playing, you know, actually playing Jungle Love from First Avenue. So yeah, that's how I ended up on there.
Looking at those 3-time records, was there anything or what track out of all those would you say was maybe the most challenging for you to play drum-wise?
7/7, no doubt. 7/7. I remember me, Prince, and Moir sat down at the drum set, like, we was trying to figure how the hell is being gonna do this, you know, because it's a drum machine, and it's damn near physically impossible. Even though we got a lot of world-class drummers out here that hit that beat pretty close, it is an extremely difficult beat. Here I'm at 61 years old playing it every time we play and stuff, and it always snaps me back to reality, you know. And I've seen many drummers, you know, play it and stuff, and they get close and everything, but it's a very challenging beat. And I challenge any drummer that if you're going to be a drummer, you need to learn that beat, because it is very complex, and especially if you play it like it's on the drum machine. I mean, David Garibaldi is the one that designed that beat. If you listen to him play on the Tower of Power, he has some of the most difficult drum patterns, and he plays them like nothing, like a robot. You know, there ain't nothing to him. So that's the thing. So I was not shocked. I was not surprised when I heard that he did the beat, but I knew it was going to be hard. So me, Prince, and Morris, we sat down the drum set, and we figured out a way that I could play it every night, and that the guys could dance to it, and the beat would be right. And it's worked out now for 40 years, you know. So that's what it's the most difficult one out the whole time catalog, no question about it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You know, one of the things about Prince too that made him so unique and his innovations and all that was his gift for being, you know, creative with the drum machine. So
yeah.
How did you feel about that, being an actual drummer? Did you feel cool with the drum machine stuff?
Yeah, I did because it challenged me as a drummer to play that stuff. It's challenging to play those drum machine beats. And you notice in his own band, he took Bobby Z from playing. The first year Bobby actually played trap drums, and he put him on the drum machine. And he had the accent and stuff because Prince had made the drum machine such an incorporate thing into his thing. So he had to have that, you know. And then later on when he got, you know, like Blackwell, all them guys that could play like a drum, then, you know, he let them loose. But I watched him do that with Bobby. You know, it was hard, man. I felt Bobby's pain sometime. I really did. Yeah.
You know, from the outside looking in, Jellybean, seeing how you were there with Purple Rain, and then you were there with the family, which we'll talk about in a minute. But from the outside looking in, because you were still there when almost everyone else was gone,
But John,
Wow, Jellybean must be really tight with Prince.
no, I wasn't really tight with him, but I think he believed in me, Scott. That's what it was. He believed. He always gave me a pass, man. You know, until I decided I didn't want to pass no more. You know, but and you know, and that's the thing. He really. I tell people this. He helped make me famous, but it was at a price. You know, I had to put up with a lot of stuff, man. I really did. And then when I became more independent, I started working for Flight Time. And then I would say stuff in the press, and he'd get mad about it, but he couldn't do nothing because I didn't work for him no more. And I was just voicing my opinion that I didn't voice when I was working for him, you know.